And hopefully, of course, you're also enjoying the show as we bring you lots of inspiration and hope here on Full Circle with Joyce. With that said, though, let me introduce my next guest. And her name is Wanjiku Kironyo. And she's here. She's an author and a career coach. And her book here is called Born to Be Unstoppable. It's her Kenyan story, her global journey, and her life's legacy. Karibu sana to the show.
Thank you so much, Joyce.
You're welcome. Great to have you.
Nice to have you.
All right. So before we jump into the content of the book, tell us a bit about yourself and becoming an author. Was it always an ambition of yours to write a book?
Actually, this book was an interesting coincidence. I was out of this country for several years, and while I was doing my postgraduate study is when I was expecting my first child 42 years ago. And I decided, let me write a letter to my son or whoever, whether it was a female or male, to just welcome them to the world. And as I was beginning to write this letter welcoming, I realized that I also needed to introduce myself. And that is how the book came about.
That's very interesting. I like the idea of writing a letter to them to
Yes, yes.
introduce yourself
Yes.
to them. But I know you talk quite a bit about having lived abroad. Tell us a bit about what you were doing there. You said you were studying?
Yes, I left this country in 1972 to go to study in America. And while I was there, I studied psychology. This is my profession.
Okay.
And I was exposed to so many areas that I didn't know about life, because during that time you had to do a lot of field work attachment. And that exposed me to areas that I never knew that existed, like, for example, children with special needs, child development. I became aware of some of the things that happen to children as a result of mistakes that we make when we are pregnant or when we are delivering the babies, and what happened to our children when we are bringing them up. And I started focusing on that when I came back to the country. I started teaching at the University of Nairobi Department of Sociology. And it was during that time that I had to go and do field work coordination for the students who are going to do field work. And I came across this place, Mathare Valley, and that's some of the area that I began my work in this country.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes.
you'll be telling us a bit about some of the work that you've been doing
Yes.
there. But I think already for a lot of people, the fact that you were there, you had the opportunity to stay there, I presume,
Yes.
but then made a decision to come back. And maybe you can talk about that, because I feel like sometimes a lot of young people in this country feel that there are no opportunities here. And the first ticket they get to leave, they will be on that boat or on that plane, and they'll be out of here, and maybe they won't come back. But talk to us about just even coming back home and feeling the need to give back here.
I like to start by saying that I was born and brought up in the rural area. I'd never been to the city before I left this country, except for maybe once in a whole visit. But when I went to that country, I found that it was a country that had everything there was to have in the world. Good roads, street lights, supermarkets, good housing, paved streets, and everything was beautiful. And somehow, for some reason, even before I left this country, I had made up my mind that I will not live in foreign countries. I'll get whatever I can to bring back to my country. And that's exactly what I did. After my education, I came back here. And when I was leaving US, many people asked me, are you crazy? You going back there? How are you going to live with the small salaries they give to people, the lifestyle, the corruption, and everything? And I kept on saying, I was here to study, and I want to go back to my country. And I always felt that I wanted to make a difference in my country. And everything I was seeing and I was learning, I could visualize whatever I could go back home and do with whatever knowledge I was gaining.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, that's great. That's
Yes.
great. And hopefully that's of encouragement to other people here too, that indeed it's not always just about running away from here. Maybe some of the problems that we keep complaining about, it is actually us to solve them.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I want us to take a break at this point, and when we come back, we're going to continue our discussion here with Madam Wanjiku and just getting to know a bit about some of the work as well she's doing in some slum areas as well here in the country. 111-444-111 is the SMS line, and I'll be back after this. Hey guys, welcome back to Full Circle with Joyce. I'm here with Madam Wanjiku Kironyo, who's an author and a career coach, and we're talking about her book here, Born to be Unstoppable. And we've already gotten to learn just a bit about her background, learning that she actually grew up in a very rural area and then had the opportunity back in 1972 to go to the US for further studies. And I'd like to talk about that just a little bit. I mean, that must have been such tremendous culture shock for you. How were you able to make that adjustment? And because for some people, it could just be even coming to Nairobi is a huge adjustment on its own. I mean, the city continues to grow. How did you manage that transition, and what lessons can we draw from it today?
Number one, I'm a very social person, and I very easily integrate with the people. So when I got there, I, for some reason, did not even think about where I came from, but I started seeing what I am there for. And so immediately, it's like I hit the ground running because I integrated so much with the many people in the community that was around me. And many of them were very happy to welcome me to the world, to introduce me, to share with me, to talk to me, to answer my questions. And so even that feeling that I'm away from home and I'm lonely did not get into my life at that time of my life when I arrived there. So then eventually I started going to school and also working and also learning how to drive a car and finding my places and my way and realizing that I'm on my own beside the fact that I have friends. I was now on my own. It is either I hit it or I miss it. And so I started working very hard, combining schools and work, and also integrating with the culture of the West.
Right.
Yeah, because people look down upon you if you hold yourself back.
Yeah.
You have to quickly be ready to integrate in
Okay.
in that society.
Okay.
Yes.
And for someone who maybe doesn't have that level of confidence, but I think that sort of culture of you know, now if you're not bold, if you're not courageous, you do miss out on a lot because no one is looking around waiting to see who is, you know, and try and make it their business to. I think everybody's on their hustle and their grind now, as we would say, to really get out there and push. And we really celebrate the ones who are determined, who are focused, who are bold. How would you encourage someone who hasn't been raised that way? They haven't been raised very socially, they're not very bold, but here they are trying to take advantage of the opportunities the world presents to them. What would be maybe one thing you would advise them to do?
I would first of all say that the young generations are very fortunate today, because for us during our time, we had very little opportunity to have somebody to expose us, to talk to us, to give us direction, especially direction about future life in the urban setting. We only knew what our grandparents and our community taught us. So today what I can say to a young person today, don't just sit there and play with your phone. Just look around, learn from that phone, read about the motivation speaker, what they are telling you, read about young people around the world, what they are doing. And because right now the world is a global village, it's not limited to where you come from. You can learn about how are the young people in Japan coping with the situation, even coronavirus today. How are young people who don't even have parents, orphans, cope with life. And so there is also building counseling for every aspect of our life today. It is a question of utilizing the social media in a way that can benefit us, because a lot of these young people are using it in a way that is not helpful to them. Yes.
Now, in one of your chapters here, you've titled it Love, Heartbreak, and a Youthful Life. And obviously today, even on this show, relationships is quite a huge deal. And maybe you can just tell us a bit about how you were able, a bit about, I guess, your life in that regard, but even how you were able to manage whatever challenges you faced. Just because I think a lot of people in our pursuit of our dreams and our goals and our ambitions, we can't do away with relationships, and being able to manage them well determines a lot of, you know, things around us, including the success of the things that we are chasing. So maybe you can tell us a bit about what this chapter is about. Just obviously I won't be able to go through it entirely, but just tell us a bit about that and relate it to how you see young people manage their relationships today.
I must say that cultural background is a very, very strong thing to any person, because I remember growing up, there are so many things that whatever my mother could not tell us or my father, our grandmother, our aunt used to teach us about it. And number one, I even remember when I was a young girl, I used to listen to the songs by the name of Joseph Kamaru, the late Joseph Kamaru, who used to talk to the girls about how to focus in your life. So even when I was living this country, his songs were the songs that even molded me about the power that you have as a young woman and what you can do with your life. So even when I was a student and I was dating and I was out interacting with the people in the universities, I still remember that there's a life beyond that aspect of youth, and that I had to stay focused on whatever brought me to America.
Yeah.
So I really was, I enjoy life like anybody else.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had to remind myself that I'm heading somewhere. I'm focusing on a certain things in life, and I cannot forget that. Yes.
Okay. You write here actually that at one point you began dating an American boy. And of course, then I guess back then, at least at home, it was really taboo to marry a white guy, or at least that just, cultural boundaries, as you've mentioned. And maybe you can just kind of walk us through relationships then. And I think a lot of people right now, we talk a lot about how university kids just getting into relationships is just not a good idea. Like finish school, and then when you're 25 plus, now you can begin thinking about a relationship. I don't know if you look back on your experience, if you would say the same thing. Or, maybe you can tell us a bit about that experience and really navigating how to cultivate relationships with people who your culture may not necessarily accept. Because I think that relates today, even as far as just intertribal marriage.
Actually, when I was growing up, there was a message that we used to be told by our grandparents that when you see a man, run away. And we did not realize that even, it's like they were saying, if you sit next to a man, you get pregnant. When I went to a country in America where dating is so acceptable, it's so encouraged. In fact, everybody would be asking you, are you dating somebody? And it was a normal thing in America. So I went through those experiences. And especially when I was dating somebody, there was also a question in my mind, would this person fit in my country? Would this person be interested in going back to my country?
Right.
And so I found myself, because you didn't have your people with you.
Yeah.
You didn't have your men of your country with you. You date whoever is around you, whether you're interacting with. But at the same time, I was also assessing, is this, can I make a future relationship with this person?
Yeah.
And especially, can this person go back to my country?
Okay.
And I think that I use that as a criteria of shortlisting the people that that I was dating.
Okay.
But also, it was quite a good experience for me as a young woman to be able to know people of different culture, interact with the different culture. I would say that today, young people are normally confused about the relationship because it is based on material. There's so much materialistic in the relationship without thinking about what else does this person have that can bring into your life. And I think that is what I would encourage people even to develop friendship, because dating is not about going to bed with somebody.
That's right.
Dating is interacting with the people of different society, different communities, and getting to know them.
Yeah.
And even appreciating the fact that other people can bring in something in your life, and you can also give something in your life.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, in a country like Africa, we are bogged down to this issue of tribalism, ethnicity, and everything, which has really been crippling our lives because we judge people without even knowing who they are. We have put what you call divide. We have accepted the divide and rule that was established by a colonizer, and we have kept away from each other without ever getting to know the wealth of the mind across other ethnic groups.
Okay.
And I would encourage that people to try to cross the boundary as much as possible, to interact. And we remove this attitude that we have inherited, not even from our grandparents. We have inherited that from the people who wanted to exploit our resources, and they divided us and ruled us accordingly.
Right,
yes.
right. Well said. And so now you're back in Kenya, and then you start working with women in Mathare and this Mazuri project. Please tell us a bit more about those.
Yeah, as I said, the book is written in 4 phases. Phase 1 is when I was writing a letter to my son. And then I realized that there's so much I did not know about my life, my background, because I could remember when I was a little girl, there were times we were kept in a small hut with my parents, only women, and we were locked in, and there was a bucket, and the women would carry that bucket in the morning and go and pour it somewhere. And my mother, I remember many years later, she told me that you have a burnt skin because of that waste that was pouring from the head. And then I wanted to know why were we there. Then I was told it was during the emergency, everybody was rounded up, and women were put in one place, men were put in another place. And during that time, a lot of men were taken in detention. I need also to understand why that in the villages that we lived, somebody will blow a whistle in the morning, and you could not leave the village before 6, and you could not come back in the village after 6 in the evening. And so there were so many, and even sometimes people come to your house and ask, is your mom there? They were supposed to go and do what you call a communal service. It was a forced labor. Okay. If your mom was not in the house, if the mom is hiding in the house, she'll be beaten in the house in front of you. So I wanted to understand this because I wanted to tell my son about my early childhood, which I didn't understand. Okay. I also remember there was a time we lived near a place where there was a mass grave. And all I can see every day was bodies being brought there. And to me, those people were sleeping, and they would throw them in that dish, and then after that, they'll cover them with the soil. Wow. And then later, for me, they were sleeping. I came to realize that they were dead many years after I was grown up, that they were not sleeping, they were dead. Wow. So I needed to ask those questions to tell my son who I am, my background. So when I came back, I had a lot of questions to ask. But I shelved that book for 5 years, and I started teaching at the university. And during the time when I was teaching, I had to go and coordinate the field work. And at the time when I arrived in Mathare Valley, we were told, you cannot come there with those shoes, with those clothes, with your handbags, with your earrings, with this and this and that. What kind of a place is this then? Then the student who came with me said, if this is what we are going to learn, this is the environment, we are not going to come back here anymore. So I decided, because I had seen that community, I'll be going there every Wednesday. Okay. And I wanted to know from these people, why are you here? Does the government of this country know that you live here under these conditions? And I remember one time during one of the Wednesdays when I was there was a fire. And 2 kids perished in the fire. And I ran that the mother had tied them with around the bed when they go to work. They go to work in the street washing clothes. So I was so touched. And it was that time that I made a decision to start a rescue center for children who are physically and mentally challenged. And that program grew to be a big program. Our first graduate of that program is now, who is physically disabled, but he's a high school teacher, having gone through all the way university. And the message I wanted to give to the society is that disability is not inability. And these people can live a normal life, because people assume that when you have a physical disability, you are mentally challenged, which was not true. Yeah. So I also started a program which is called the Head Start. Head Start program was part of that school, where the children who would be put in the house when the mothers are going away to go to work, I would put them together in one place, and I would have some of the women working with me to help them and take care of them. The school now has over 700 children. Wow. We have seen many of them even go as far as university. Amazing. Even today. And it has helped so many young people to realize their potential. Yeah. And this school is a holistic approach, because one of the things that we do is talent development. And I do know that some of the university students who have come on board to help us to mentor these young people have really helped them. One example is what the work that Griffin is doing with these young people to mentor them. You can see the students are going as far as national theater, televisions, everywhere. They are just sharing their talent with the society. Many people ask questions. Are you sure these kids are from Mathare Valley? Because once you give the student an opportunity, any child requires that to be able to realize their potential. Amazing. So I started what you call the bottom-up approach, working with the children, and at the same time, top-down approach is working with the women themselves.
Amazing. In Mathare Valley.
In Mathare Valley.
And then tell us very briefly about the Maji Mazuri project.
Okay, this is Maji Mazuri entire program. Okay. It helps young people in Mathare Valley. Okay. And it also helps women and also children. Also all of it. And a few years ago, we won the international award on Green Hero Environmental program, which was a United Nations environmental program. It was
Wow.
owned by only 4 countries in the world,
Yeah.
and we were among the people who won that award.
Well done.
Yes.
Well done to you.
Yes.
And thank you so much for sharing your life story with us and just the different nuggets that, through challenges, through successes,
Yes.
I think the important thing is to pick up the lessons and
Yes.
move forward.
Yeah.
And then hopefully that's what our audience is drawing away from this conversation as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
So I want to ask you to let us know how you people can get a hold of the book, or at least maybe if they have questions that they want to direct to you, is there a way that they can reach you?
Yes, this book is available through Amazon, but at the same time, it is deliverable to anywhere within Nairobi. If people call this number, our number, they can be able to get the book.
Okay.
And it can be delivered anywhere within Nairobi.
All right.
Yes.
Do you know the number?
It's 0722, 0724 787 115.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you
Yes.
so much for coming to the show, Madam Wanjiku.
Yes.
Great to talk to you and to meet you as well.
Yes.
And indeed, let's be unstoppable, guys.
Yes.
You can travel the world, meet new people,
Yes.
and still come back home and make a great, great change for our country. So asante sana for that reminder.
Thank you.
With that said, guys, we're going to take a break now as we get ready for our final segment of the day. We're going to be learning about the Poachers film that is now on Netflix. That's a Kenyan film, and we'll be meeting a bit of the cast here on the show. But for now, we'll take a break with some music. 111 444 111 is the SMS line.